Welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast. We are here for our Eastern Conference preview. The Beastern Conference. It's going to be a heavy loaded conference. Isaiah has a strong rooting interest in one of those teams. Basketball season is back. How you feeling?
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's talk about these guys at the bottom East that just don't matter. Let's get right into it. A team that I think should be racing to the bottom, I think they will be because we don't know what type of shift Michael Jordan is running over there in his organization. At 15, I got the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo's already hurt.
15?
LaMelo's already hurt. Their second best player is going to jail. PJ Washington is next up. What type of shift is Michael running over there? Hopefully they bottom out and the league gives them what they deserve after they robbed them of 80 all those years ago. But that'll be left to be seen. At 14, I got another team that I think is chasing to the bottom, probably waiting to give away the last best of the last couple good players they have in the Indiana Pacers. They've got Buddy Hield, they got Miles Turner, guys that a lot of playoff contenders are going to be thirsty for come trade deadline. So we'll see. But I think Indiana will be racing to the bottom because, like I said about Utah, they're a small market team that has to find a way to get great players there that want to stay there. And the best player in this draft fits that mold. At 13, I've got the New York Knicks, the mid three. They've got the mid three. I just think they have Julius Randle, who might have the worst contract in the NBA. He's got a bottom 10 contract in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, actually, I like as a player, but he has probably a bottom 10 contract. He's probably going to be the one that outperforms the contract the most. But hopefully, RJ Barrett takes the next leap because if he's their best player, all-star level, and Jalen Brunson's top starter level, and Randall's just up, you move him to the side. So Randall's the third best player could work, but a lot of things have to go right, and I just don't believe that Tom Thibodeau will coach up this offense good enough to make all those things go right. At 12, I've got a cellar dweller in the DC Washington Wizards. This might be the year Bradley Beal gets traded. I'm looking at you, Dallas, might pony up the right compensation to get a player of his caliber. That's probably why they push him to get the contract. Because unless Kristaps stays healthy, Rui and Danny take other steps. I always forget who they have as their coach. It doesn't matter. This team has been finishing 10 through 12 the last 5-6 years now. They have no future and they have no prize. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from there. At 11, I think I have two young teams here fighting for 10 and 11, but I have the Orlando Magic just falling a hair short here. Hopefully they can get a healthy Markelle Fultz. We know they've got Pablo Banchero, who might be the rookie of the year. I like the kid they got from the Bulls that the Bulls probably wish they still had, who they traded Jokic for, Wendell Carter, fresh off a new contract. Maybe, just maybe, Jalen Suggs comes back and reaches the potential I believe he can be. And maybe, just maybe, Jonathan Isaacs comes back. They also have him. So this team, and they have Franz Warner, who I thought was the second, third best rookie last year. So there's a lot of young talent on the Orlando Magics. Just two of the best guys drafted the highest are coming back from catastrophic injuries. So that's my 15 through 11. Charlotte, a disaster. Michael still the team. Indiana, the Knicks, BC, Orlando, the usual, the usual at the bottom here at the East.
Yeah, outside of Charlotte, I think Charlotte's better than 15. But yeah, I think it'll be a struggle for Charlotte this year. At number 15, I will go with the Indiana Pacers. They seem to be the most beeline towards the tank spot. I think Miles Turner and Buddy Hield get traded at some point, probably in a Russell Westbrook trade. We'll see. And they'll start making their way to Halliburton the keys, hopefully Victor following suit. Number 14, I have the Washington Wizards. It's not a good basketball team. They've got a couple of high-end players who, if they stay healthy and play well, they could be a sneaky borderline playing team. But you really can't trust it for Beal or Porzingis, and the rest of their depth is kind of questionable. I think it's Scott Brooks. Is Scott Brooks still the head coach over there in DC?
No, they got rid of him 2 seasons. He wasn't there last year. He wasn't there at all last year.
That shows how much we care about Wizards basketball. At number 13, I'm going to go with the Orlando Magic. It's just they picked number one overall for a reason. They're still not a very good basketball team. Jalen Suggs already dealing with injuries. It's a team that you always have to be questioned about how they develop talent. Jonathan Isaac never shows up. Markelle Fultz is Markelle Fultz. I like their team. They just seem like they need a couple years of seasoning of getting those guys into the flow of playing professional basketball. At number 12, I'm going to go with the Detroit Pistons. They're really close. I think they could easily be a play-in team here if one of my play-in teams falls off, suffers an injury here or there. Still very, very young. They got rid of Jeremy Grant, who was their best player last year, but I think they replaced him with quality guys. Cade Cunningham should make another jump. They're 1 year away from being a serious threat. And then number 11, Charlotte Hornets. They seem due for a pretty massive regression. Obviously, we know with the Miles Bridges situation, even their first round pick 2 years ago, James Bouknight, got arrested yesterday or earlier today. LaMelo's hurt. It's just too many things going on with that franchise for me to have put much faith in them. They look like they were on the cusp, but now they have lots of questions. So I'll go through it again. We have the Indiana Pacers at 15, the Wizards at 14, the Magic at 13, the Pistons at 12, and the Hornets at 11.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and give us your playing teams?
Okay, starting with number 10, I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. The mid three will be the just good enough three to get him into the play-in tournament. Julius Randle, he had a massive boom, then a massive bust. He's probably somewhere in the middle. I think he'll be able to sell into that. Jalen Brunson is a really good two-way guard for them. I think he'll be a favorite of Thibodeau and Knicks fans. He can play on both sides of the floor. RJ Barrett obviously should elevate into one of the better players in the NBA. And they got some decent depth around them. Derrick Rose, Mitchell Robinson. I like their team. They should be a team that should be able to compete for a play-in spot. They've invested a lot of money into getting at this point. I think the NBA will pull through for them. At number 9, I got the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, they were the tale of two different seasons. In 2021, before the turn of the year, they looked like the best team in the Eastern Conference. They were pretty bad from that point forward. And the biggest reason why is the reason why I don't like them now. Lonzo Ball's not healthy. They don't have anybody to play defense on the perimeter outside of Alex Caruso. DeRozan's another year older. Zach LaVine's dealing with knee issues. And I think Vucevic is probably out of his prime and heading into the twilight at this point in his career. Good basketball team, but in a strong Eastern Conference, I can't give them more than a 9 seed. At number 8, I got the Atlanta Hawks. Big fan of the Atlanta Hawks over here. They disappointed mightily last season, but the DeJounte Murray addition is exactly what they need to pair next to Trae Young, a defensive presence, another guy who could take the ball out of his hands. You see they gave DeAndre Hunter a massive extension today. John Collins, Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. They've got a loaded team. I like Nate McMillan as a coach. He's very hot and cold with the way with how they operate. But I think that's a good basketball team. They're going to be better on defense, and I think they have enough playoff clout, playoff cachet to be a solid play-in team. And at number 7, the Toronto Raptors. I think they were 6 last year, so this isn't really too much of a fall for them. They're the same team as they're the same team. They got a bunch of wings and Fred VanVleet, no real big man at the center spot, which I think will hurt them against the best teams in the Eastern Conference. But the Raptors are the Raptors. They needed the KD trade the most, probably. Shame for them, but they weren't able to pull that off. They're just a good team, not a great team. So I'll go through it again. Knicks at 10, Bulls at 9, Hawks at 8, Raptors at 7.
Yeah, so we have 2 teams in that tier of 4 that I have exactly the same way, and I'll just knock them out. I have Chicago at 9. I just think the East is too strong, and the Lonzo Ball injury means they're deep, and the fact that Vucevic has taken a step back, and he's not a defensive player, so he's not helping where it's going to be the problem when Lonzo's out. And Caruso's nicked that often, so is LaVine. Hopefully, and are we going to continue to get the season out of DeMar DeRozan they got last year? I just doubt it. They might have peaked last year. They might have peaked, but they're coaching they've got the guy from OKC. What's that coach at Florida back in 2008? Billy Donovan. He's mid. He's the definition of just an NBA coach. He's just another coach. And number 8, I got Atlanta. we're gonna hype up the DeJounte Murray combo with Trae Young, but their team is loaded, but still probably not gonna go that far in this loaded East. I just don't like unless I see DeAndre Hunter become a dominant wing. I can't see this team becoming that type of team because this East is full of dominant players. So you need dominant players to dominate this league. And Trae Young's a dominant player, but he's a different type of dominant. You need physically dominant players in this Eastern Conference because this is a team full of physically dominant players. I still like the team a lot, but they're loaded. Huerter, Bogdanovich, like we said, they got the two guys, the Capella and Okonkwo. Am I saying that correctly?
Okongwu. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. He's good. He's literally Clint Capella. They got so I like the team, just don't like the way it matched up with this East. At number 10, I'm gonna get on the Detroit Pistons bandwagon. They're getting into my playing, I think, with Cade and with Ivy, who I think could be a possible rookie of the year, along with missing one more name that I really Isaiah Stewart taking another leap.
They added Bogdanovich.
They added Bogdanovich, who's a good veteran presence scorer, who's going to know his role. He's going to be the vet for all those young guys. And Dwayne Casey's not a scrub, is he? He's not a scrub head coach, is he?
It's been 5 years of evidence to the contrary. So
Cade Cunningham is probably the most generationally talented player he'll ever have. If he doesn't make it work here, he won't make it work anywhere. And at 7, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. I know the culture is amazing, but the team, I know this could be freezing cold in a couple months. The culture is amazing. They always win. But I'm going to go with best case scenario for all these teams when I pick the standings. And if everybody's best case scenario comes true, Miami's got the least high ceiling, best ceiling. I think we don't know any Mr. Sheen himself. Mr. What's first name? Last name Robinson. First name Duncan. He isn't good at all anymore. He's been replaced by Max Strauss, but Max Strauss just screams he's the next Duncan Robinson. Their best two players are Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler. And Bam. So Jimmy Butler and Bam, I say that, but you kind of hope that Tyler Hero sooner or later makes that jump now that they're paying him. And do we think Kyle Lowry is gonna keep kicking? He was hurt a lot last year, and Jimmy Butler
looks pretty old. He looks pretty old.
So they got a good mix of young guys, but if the team comes out to Bam and Tyler Hero, really, who are their guys who are in their primes. I'm not saying Jimmy's not in his prime anymore, but Tyler and Bam are clearly still in their primes. Is that where are you really going with Bam and Tyler Hero? That's all I gotta say. And then that's my plan. So I got Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami. You want me to go ahead with my
6-1? Go ahead to your 6-1.
Just edging out Miami, in my opinion. I went with Toronto. I actually like where this team's going. I think Nick Nurse is probably the best coach in the NBA behind Steve Kerr. Nick Nurse is so underrated. He's a great coach. The system he runs here in Toronto is so sophisticated, has so many different pieces moving on defense. I like their wing size. They've got the widest depth of wings. Freddie Van Fleet still being Freddie Van Fleet. Not Norman Powell, but Gary Trent Jr. taking the Norman Powell role as their other guard scorer. I just believe I believe in their culture more than Heat culture is what I'm going to say, because I think they rely more on guys that are still hungry and want to prove it. And at 6, that was my 6, Toronto. At 5, I have Cleveland. The only reason I have them here at 5 is because I think they're going to have to take time to gel with that backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and not Colin Sexton, but Darius Garland. So I believe that it's going to take some time to get that to gel. I like the idea of it, but they're going to have to get their defensive schemes and their offensive schemes in order. JB Bickerstaff is a great head coach. I'm sure he'll get it done, but I just think this team has the least amount of chemistry for the top echelon teams in the East. At 4, I've got Boston. Happily that they lost their coach who was a budding superstar. Happily that the Nets leaked reports that they were willing to give up Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant. I think they've got some turmoil this year. So let's see how they do, because the Boston Celtics nobody overcomes turmoil in the NBA. You just don't. The last team we've seen do it was probably the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, and that was when I was very, very young. So that tells you everything you need to know about turmoil in the NBA. At number 3, I have Milwaukee, based just solely off the fact that Chris Middleton is hurt. So Giannis could be going Super Saiyan mode, but I doubt that they want him to go Super Saiyan mode. So I think they'll coast. They just know they got to be a top 4 seed. They got as long as they got Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Jrue Holiday. Watch out for Jrue Holiday, another year older, probably the oldest of the 3 in the core. He relies on that quickness that he has. He's had some injury history. I love Jrue Holiday as a player. He's been underrated for so long that he finally became known when he got to where he needed to be. But that's watch for Jrue Holiday, and Pat Connaughton is hurt, and he's a big player for them. At 2, basically at 1 and 2, as I go ahead and steal James Wiseman, hoping that he means something. Basically at 1 and 2, I believe these are the 2 teams that have found the way to make all their players, for the first time ever, these 2 teams have all the players with no drama and all their players coming in healthy. Karis LeVert, is that who I'm taking? I'm going to take another Warrior. I'm going to take Jonathan Kuminga. One of those Warriors, young guys, going to come through for me. But we see Philly and Brooklyn being healthy, happy enough, and motivated. I think a motivated James Harden and Kyrie Irving, they were told this summer that they're not max players. People told James Harden, former MVP and former NBA champion Kyrie Irving, that they're not max players. And I think they're going to use that motivation, hopefully, because this is kind of their last chance to prove people that they're max players. But I'm going to use my fandom and edge out Brooklyn going 1, because I think we have much more loaded roster with better shooting, and Philly at 2. But I think using the same Kyrie Irving and James Harden motivation to drive the team, hopefully health keeps Joel, Kyrie, KD, James healthy. But for all of this, we're hoping people stay healthy. You go ahead, but I'll give it one more time. At 6, I got Toronto. At 5, I got Cleveland. At 4, I got Boston. 3, Milwaukee. Happy to see Boston and Milwaukee having to battle with some adversity. Philly at 2, Brooklyn at 1.
All right, I think there'll be a little more drama in Brooklyn that you're trying to wishfully wish away, like the rest of the NBA who wants to see a good Brooklyn team. But I'll go ahead through mine. At number 6, the drama's going to be there, Isaiah. I'm sorry, Brooklyn. That's at number 6. They're going to have to fight. They're going to have to fight through some. They're going to have to fight through some adversity. That's just how it goes. Kevin Durant deals with injuries. Kyrie deals with injuries. Ben Simmons deals with injuries. They got to get the chemistry together. They hate the head coach. Kyrie says they don't have one. Kevin Durant wants him fired. There's just no way they're getting through the season with no turmoil or adversity. It's a strong Eastern Conference. I think they're very, very good, but I don't quite have them as the top seed. But they're championship contender, obviously, for the Nets at 6. At number 5, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They made the big move. They made the big swing. I love the Donovan Mitchell fit. It's exactly what they needed. Another perimeter ball playmaker who could take the ball to Darius Garland's hands. He's got playoff scoring experience. He's a 25-plus point per game scorer in the playoffs. And they can hide a weak defensive backcourt with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley protecting the rim at all costs. I think Cleveland's here to show that they're finally good without LeBron James. Maybe they're trying to open the welcome mat for LeBron James. Either way, I like Cleveland a lot here at the 5 spot. They should make it life difficult on the Milwaukee Bucks, who I haven't.
You think Cleveland's going to be better than the Nets?
Yes.
They have to mix and match all. They're inserting a whole new dominant scoring presence into with a heavy ball dominant point guard, and you think that's just going to work better?
Y'all doing the same thing. Y'all doing the inverse thing with Ben Simmons. Y'all gonna have to integrate Ben Simmons.
He's not ball dominant, though. He's not looking to shoot, though. Donovan Mitchell looking to shoot.
You know how I feel. I think the best regular season teams are the teams that are young and are going to play elite defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen patrolling that paint. I don't see how they're a bad defense. I still like Okoro, Karis LeVert coming off the bench. That's a really, really good Cleveland team. At number 4, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Central Division still isn't amazing, but it's getting better. I think that will cause them to lose more games than they normally do. Chris Middleton injury being a big part of it. Giannis will be the MVP front runner at the beginning of the season as he carries them through the Eastern Conference, but it's still a tough East. Milwaukee isn't going to be playing for the regular season. They're going to be playing for an NBA championship. At number 3, the Boston Celtics. This is just where I felt the most comfortable putting them. Obviously, they have more than enough talent and ability to be the 1 seed, to be the best team in the Eastern Conference, the best team in the NBA. They were 2 games away from winning a title. But we know what's going on there. I can't even name you their head coach right now because Udoka's out here blowing up the franchise. The guys don't even know what they're finding out on Twitter. Jaylen Brown thinks he's getting traded. Marcus Smart wants to be the point guard, so they traded for a point guard. It's just that team still should be really, really good as a baseline, but the turmoil factor can always knock them down a couple of pegs. At number 2, I don't know why Isaiah not buying into Heat culture, but Heat culture is the realest, most consistent thing in the NBA, and I expect it to be no different this year. They still have
who's playing for them?
It doesn't matter. They were all hurt last year, and they were the 1 seed. It doesn't matter. It is Heat culture. That's who's playing for them, Isaiah. Heat culture. Heat culture would get them the 2 seed. Now they'll probably get bounced in the playoffs before the NBA finals because they're not as good as the team makes it out to be. But yeah, in the regular season, I expect those guys to be. They have a bunch of tryhards on their team, good defense. Jimmy Butler will be able to make enough plays for them to win some games. And Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NFL. It might be the best coach in the NBA. And at number 1, I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers. I really, really like what James Harden did with the sacrifice, with sacrificing some millions of dollars to make sure that team could get better. I think it shows me.
PJ Tucker?
Yeah, PJ Tucker is somebody really used for them. But the bigger acquisition, in my opinion, is DeAnthony Melton from the Memphis Grizzlies as a big time player because they needed another perimeter defender score off the bench. I think Melton can be that for them. He can help them run the second units. I think him and Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle as their 3 perimeter defenders around James Harden and Joel Embiid is going to be hell to deal with. They look like a team that's very, very motivated. I think they're the most motivated team in the Eastern Conference to get through the regular season with a good record. We'll see how that translates to the playoffs. Joel Embiid should be chasing an MVP, a DPOY, but I'll take the Sixers to claim the top spot. So I'll go through it again. Nets at 6, Cavs at 5, Bucks at 4, Celtics at 3, Heat culture at 2, and the Sixers at numero uno.
I mean, I think you discredited all the other drama going around to imply that Brooklyn, the team that's actually got all their healthy stars playing, with the exception of Steph Curry and Joe Harris, both working their way back from injury. But I think you're sleeping on, what's his name, Royce O'Neal, a wing defender, a wing 3-and-D player that I think they've desperately needed. The growth of Nicholas Claxton, and also the fact that they have Joe Harris. Huh? I was going to save it for end, but Joe Harris, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they have probably 5 top 10 3-point shooters in the NBA, along with Ben Simmons, Nicholas Claxton, Royce O'Neal, and Steve Nash coaching it up. Steve Nash.
The 2 best players hate him.
No, I'm going to pause. And if you look at their preseason, they're playing differently all preseason. It looks like Steve Nash like, I gotta, they about to throw me under the bus. I gotta go earn a keep here, and he's turned into Mr. Not Nice Guy no more, because they're running an offense out there. Actually, Ben Simmons is gonna add a ball moving presence that I don't think they ever had. I think that's what they've been missing. Somebody who has the ball, but unlike James Harden, who wants to score, Ben Simmons will just look to facilitate, which is enough to keep Kyrie consistently healthy, enough to keep Kevin Durant consistently happy. But all that matters is that Kyrie Irving's going to be chasing max money. And so you're going to see Kyrie Irving on his P's and Q's probably for the only time you'll ever see Kyrie Irving on his P's and Q's. And if you don't see Kyrie Irving on his P's and Q's, you'll never see Kyrie Irving on his P's and Q's. Unless LeBron James, unless he's playing with LeBron James. And Moody is only preying on the downfall for the hopes of getting Kyrie Irving in LA. But I didn't even think about that until just now, but I see what you did there. Ulterior motives. But we agreed on Philly, top 2 seed. Yeah. Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland. We all got them in the same place. Me and you flipped on. I'm going to go with Brooklyn superstar. You're going to go Stardom and roster. You're going to go with Heat culture.
Heat culture.
But Heat culture. But for the most part, not as chalk as West, but just as chalk. Let's see what we got. Russell Wilson continuing not to take Denver's offense anywhere. But that's it for the East. Wrapping it up. We'll be back with the spicy list next.
We got awards, predictions.
And top 15 NBA list.
All right. We'll see you guys then.